Welcome everybody. Once again we're previewing the international races at Sha Tin on Sunday, and we're up to the mile, and what a magnificent race this is. Abel Friend looking to defend his title. Hong Kong have had a terrific record in the race. You have to go back to 2005 when Hat-Trick from Japan was the winner. Since then, it's all been Hong Kong.
Certainly has. Abel Friend's had a funny season, though. He was absolutely breathtaking on debut, and then a little flat second time up. He, of course, heads them. Horse number 1. Number 2 is Morris from Japan. Ryan Moore will take them out on this horse, who's won his last 5. Then Beauty Flame for the home team. Mondialiste for the north of England. Two more, Fiero and Contentment, who's been making waves here in Hong Kong. Then Rewarding Hero, another one for John Moore. Red Dubawi for Germany. Giant Treasure, Romantic Touch. Secret Sham, who should go forward. Bit of a tongue twister. Danon Platina, and Esoteric is right there at the bottom for Andre Fabre.
Well, let's have a look at the Speed Pro for this race. It's again a race that looks to have some pace. We know Beauty Flame sat in last start, and that was the plan, but generally he's a front runner. Secret Sham likes to go forward. Romantic Touch was an all-the-way winner at his last start. Tormore's a horse that can also go forward, so I think the pace again will be pretty genuine down the backstretch through the early stages of the race. Is that the way you see it, John?
I think so, yeah. Secret Sham certainly would like to bowl along at this sort of trip. He's used to running over shorter trips. I think it's going to really tee it up for both Abel Friend and Morris as well. He does like to come from off the pace, so it could be sort of teed up for a nice duel as they begin to turn for home.
Yes, it's sort of starting to build up as a bit of a potential duel between Abel Friend and Morris. Let's have a look at Morris in action. Of course, he's a very, very talented Japanese horse, a 4-year-old by Screen Hero, who's won 7 out of 12. He's unbeaten in 2015.
Yeah, you can hardly say he got the run of the race here either. He got a very wide draw, but he's managed to come through and get the job done. Lots of confusing colours in that race as well. Hats off to the caller. Yeah, 5 wins in a row for this horse. There was a bit of a gap, though, between his win in June and this, and I've heard 1 or 2 of the Japanese form experts suggest there might be the potential for a bit of a bounce factor. I'm not a big believer in the bounce factor myself, but it may be something that they're worried about. But with Ryan Moore aboard, he's sure to go well.
Well, let's find out from the man who knows, Nahiro Goda.
Here, looking at the mile, of course, Morris, he's been super impressive what he's been able to achieve in Japan. This is a strong mile, though. How do you think he'll go?
Well, I think, Morris is the best miler after the Taiki Shuttle, who won the Jacques Le Manoir in France. So he's a very, very exciting prospect. But, he has won 2 major mile G1 races so far this year. He's very, very good. But I'm slightly concerned about his, condition after he got here. The mile championship was a very, very tough race for Morris. That was a first race for him after having a 5-month off. And he had a very, very tough race. I am slightly worried about his, bouncing back. And he has been trained very lightly since he got here. So I would really like to see him tomorrow. So trainer is thinking to give him a stronger gallop Friday morning. I think this will be crucial workout for Morris.
Well, Sally Ann, you saw him at the track this morning. What did you think of him?
I thought he was very impressive. I wasn't the only one. Lots of the Europeans also said to me that they thought that Morris was the standout horse this morning. He's such a good-looking horse, and I have to agree with John. Ryan Moore on his back is the winning point for me.
Yeah, well, Ryan, of course, had a terrific night on Wednesday night at Happy Valley and has had plenty of success here in Hong Kong in the past. Let's move on to another Japanese galloper in Danon Platina, a 3-year-old by Deep Impact. What a racehorse he was, and what a sire he's turning out to be. This is a serious young horse for me. I love this acceleration from him. He came from a mile back, sweep down the middle. He's had some time off. He's had a few little issues. I don't think he's fully reached his potential at this stage. He may be a better horse as a 4-year-old. I'm sure that will be the case, but I think he might have what it takes to be competitive.
Yeah, I think he might. He's a Group 1 winning 2-year-old, and this is a Group 3 win, but he's still obviously got the ability, I think, to improve on that. And again, he's another one, if they go a hair-raising gallop, he'll be suited by that. So he's not in my numbers, but he wasn't too far away.
All right, well, let's move to Esoteric now, and of course, Tormore. We're looking at the Queen Anne. Of course, Abel Friend didn't fire on this occasion, but Esoteric, the 5-year-old mare, she's come up with a good barrier gate number 3.
Yeah, he's a Turk. She's a mare that I love. I was so pleased for her when she won on this day, and for Pierre Charles-Boudot, it was the first Group 1 win for him. He's won behind Christophe Soumillon in the Jockeys Championship in France at the moment on his way out here, so it will be a great win for him again. But Pierre Charles is just an amazing rider. I'd be pleased, but I think she's had such a long season. She's done a lot of travelling. She'd gone in her coat when she went to the Breeders' Cup, and I don't think she looks at her best here.
You don't? I must admit, I've seen in the past that the Northern Hemisphere females, when they come here, they can spark up a little bit. What have you taken of her in the mornings, John?
Well, she's a proper Group 1 galloper. We saw her this morning, and she looked fine to me. She's a little bit unlucky. I don't think the race was run to suit over in the States, but the Sun Chariot form is pretty solid there over in the UK. And yeah, she's been on the go for quite some time and been a great servant to connections. I think she might sneak in from barrier 3.
All right, well, let's have a look at now Mondialist, who, of course, was the winner of the Woodbine Mile. This was on a yielding track. There was a runaway leader in this race. This is quite an incredible win. We've seen horses come from Canada previously, and a number of them have performed well. Following this, went to the US and ran a very creditable second in the Breeders' Cup Mile.
He did, yeah, and he took off in that race as well. He was quite a long way off the pace, but I mean, he's really eaten up the ground here in the closing stage, and he's really improved this horse. He ran in the Royal Hunt Cup at Royal Ascot and was well down the field. For those of you who don't know, that's a handicap over in Britain, so it hardly screamed Group 1 form at the time, but he's really improved. The two runs there in North America have been excellent. I'm just a little bit concerned that he's got gate 30, and I think that's going to be a real tough assignment for him from that draw.
Has he got the quality to be featuring in the first 4 or 5 here?
I think he does. He's a horse that had solid form in France as a 3- and 4-year-old. He's just got better and better with age, and I rate David O'Meara so highly as a trainer.
Well, let's move on to the locals. Of course, as John mentioned before, Able Friend was defeated second up in the lead-up mile race, but he won the Premier Bowl like an absolute champion that he is. And there was the talk of the second up syndrome. We must point out that on this day as well, there were horses that were favoured up on the front of the pace. The track was a little biased to those on the speed. Contentment certainly earns his spot in the race with this performance. But Able Friend, can he bounce back, John?
Well, Beauty Flame's no slouch either. I think he probably can. I've thought about this race a lot. I've thought, can I get Able Friend beaten? I almost thought that I could, and then I've actually come back to Big Red in the end. But, I mean, that sprint race, well, I mean, I've seen a lot of horse racing. That was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen on a racetrack. But what happened after that was obviously a little bit flat. If he can produce what he produced last year, I mean, if you want to watch last year's performance, he absolutely pulverised Gold Fun.
He did.
And it was a quite astonishing performance. If he produces anything like that, he wins easily.
I actually don't mind the wider draw for him as well there on Sunday. I think that gives him that little bit of room to move. I'm not too concerned if he covers a fraction of extra ground. As long as he gets clear running in the stretch and he's not hunting that rail, the pace should be good, and I think Able Friend clearly is the one to beat. And I expect the champion of Hong Kong to regain the title again as the winner of the mile. Let's find out what his trainer thinks, John Moore.
Looking at the mile, John, Able Friend, he's drawn in gate number 10. Are you happy with where he is there?
Yeah, I'm very happy because we know that from gate 10 he'll go back, worse than midfield, and I'm sure from that gate he shouldn't get trapped on the inside or you know, any chance of suffering interference. And of the others, he drew off the track Rewarding Hero. That's going to be very difficult. And the other horse, Secret Sham, I think probably just making up numbers, maybe some pace influence in the race. But for Able Friend, no, gate 10 is, I wanted 8 to 10 for him, so the owners pulled the right draw for him. So going into the race, he worked really well this morning, freshened up nicely, and I still think he's the horse to beat with Maurice as the main danger there.
There's been a lot of discussion about his defeat last time out. Did that bother you in the lead up to this run?
Well, would any trainer, it would bother you a bit, but I just think that 1200-metre race took a lot more out of him than what the stable thought, and it was probably a second-run syndrome that you know, clicked in there. But he's bounced back really well. Joe's got a big smile after his work this morning, and I don't think you'll find a fitter horse going into the race on Sunday.
His win in last year's race was sensational. How do you compare him to 12 months ago?
I think he's in the same form, but you've got to remember last year, I don't think it was a real competitive field, whereby this year it's a very competitive field. There are some smart horses in there, and Able Friend's work will be cut out to prove himself as the top 3 on the planet.
Edward Sadler talking to John Moore. Sally Ann, you saw Able Friend at his devastating best last year.
He was so impressive last year. He just took my breath away. I know he disappointed in the Queen Anne this year. The trip to Royal Ascot didn't work out. But what I did like is that John Moore said to me earlier that it meant that the horse got to go out to grass. He got to get a bit of sun on his back, something that can't happen in Hong Kong. And he thinks that is a huge benefit for him. He said the little bit of a break, the bit of a lifestyle like a normal horse, and he thinks that it'll help him bounce back to even better than he was before.
Well, John, you were talking about potentially tipping against the champ. Have you done it?
I only thought about it, but I've come to my senses in the end. I thought Morris would give him a run for his money. I think he will. I think John Moore's absolutely right. This is a tougher renewal of the race than it was last year, but I still think Able Friend can do it. Morris in second, and Esoteric can just sneak in there to a place from barrier 3.
Sally Ann, how did you assess it in the end?
Pretty similar to John, to be fair. Able Friend is the choice for me. Morris, who I had said impressed me so much this morning, and Mondulus, I think David O'Mara has a great success rate. He's doing really well with this horse since he's got him, and hopefully it'll continue to this weekend.
This is definitely a harder mile, as John said, than last year, but I'll be tipping Able Friend. I think he'll make it back-to-back miles. For second, I'm going to tip Esoteric in for second, number 14, and Dannon Platina is the Japanese horse that I really fancy, the little grey. I think he's going to run well. I respect Morris, but I'm just a little bit concerned what I was hearing from Goda there, and I'm sure he's going to be very competitive if he's right. That's the mile here on this special edition of Racing to Win. We're about to go to another break, and when we return, the Longines Hong Kong Cup.